Super Rugby Power Rankings, folks, for round number 3. Still a couple of winless sides and a couple of undefeated ones, but overall, competition thus far is looking relatively stable. Less kind of massive blowouts this week, a few close games, but we'll rank the teams kind of relatively similar to the actual log, but I guess that kind of makes sense early on in the season. Hopefully we'll see things tracking a little bit differently as the season progresses, but we'll rank them. You guys can let us know your thoughts. Moana Pasifika, one of the two winless sides, and carrying over a little bit of I guess you could say a negative score from last year's campaign, where they also finished kind of towards the foot of the table. None from 3, but unlucky. Really unlucky. I didn't see their game against the Force, but I've caught up on it this morning. 21-18. Pretty much led the entire game and then lost it at the death. A lot of cards, penalties in that game. So, they scored a couple of nice tries, but second half, maybe a bit much. I'm sure these guys are going to get better as the season goes on, but still winless, not much we can do for them. Same with the Highlanders. I mean, to be honest, the Highlanders' start to the season is kind of tough, and that you got Chiefs just now this week, 28-7 they lost, which was maybe a little bit closer than what could have happened. They've played the Crusaders and they've played the Blues. So they've played some pretty good teams. But, I mean, the tackling rate against the Chiefs was 77%, which is easily the lowest this week. You're not going to win many games if you're missing that many tackles. So we'll see if they can kind of progress. But thus far, she's been pretty ugly for the Highlanders, but I guess 28-7 was better than the previous couple of weeks anyway. The Rebels, I got your jersey on, Rebels, because you got yourselves a win. You are no longer one of the winless sides. Win over the Waratahs, 34-27. Had some very slick moves, man. Reece Hodge, try assist. Looking pretty decent. I didn't see that one coming. I thought the Waratahs was going to win that one. But no, man, the Rebels stepped up pretty well. So I'm pleased for them, 34-27. Some pretty slick gameplay for the Rebels. So I hope they can kind of build on that. And speaking of the Tars, you guys let me down in my Super Brew. I think they'll be disappointed with that one. They did blow a couple of early chances, conceded too many penalties to the Waratahs. So they're also 1-2 with that loss. I got them down 3 spots. So Highlanders have got down, Rebels have got up, Waratahs are down. Moana Pasifika still the same. That's your bottom row. Reds I've got here in 8th spots, which is also down a spot. They lost away to the Brumbies. Now the Brumbies have gone 3 from 3, so there's kind of no shame in losing to the Brumbies. As a Blues fan, I can certainly say that, because my Blues couldn't beat them either. They gave it a good crack though. 23-17 is pretty decently close. James O'Connor comes off the bench and adds a bit of impact, because he seems to have really fallen out of favour with both the Wallabies and with the Reds. But came off the bench and added some pretty decent impact. Batai got a couple of tries. So it's another one where it's like you lost, but I wouldn't be too kind of concerned about it. There's still promising signs there early on in the season. A few young guys getting some game time as well. The Crusaders, goodness gracious me, who saw them having a negative record after 3 rounds? They lost in Fiji, but this is maybe kind of a false representation of where they're at, because they didn't send their stronger side to Fiji. They obviously rested a few players, and that was the Fijian Drua's first home game of the year. They had a real raucous crowd there. You could call it a hostile atmosphere. It's a great atmosphere, but tough one for the Crusaders. So they lost only by a point. Their second string side, man, they came back from seemingly dead and buried, like the Crusaders do, and they very nearly got it done. So I do think that one's a little bit false. I reckon the Crusaders will bounce back, but down 3 spots just based on the results. The Western Force, I've got these guys just 1 spot above the Crusaders in 6th. They're 2-1. Like, I know they got an absolute hammering the week before. They absolutely got flogged the week before, but ultimately their record is 2 wins and a loss. So it took them until the end of the game to get the win. But for a side which has done a kind of lot of chopping and changing in terms of personnel, it's another one where I think there's a bit of room to grow for them. So mixed bag. 2 wins, tight affairs, and then 1 horrendous loss. So we'll see which kind of real force side shows up as we keep progressing. The Fijian Drua not quite in the top row, but 2 wins for the Drua now, and a home win over the Crusaders. First one, I think, over New Zealand side. I think first win in Fiji. Great crowd, best crowd I've seen in Super Rugby, I think, maybe in years. I mean, the Drua crowds were the best ones last year as well, but geez, that was good. Phenomenal. Great game. Scrums were a bit messy, but geez, fun. Really, really fun to watch. And they just love playing attractive rugby, man. Clean breaks, defenders beating offloads. If that's the thing you want to watch the Drua. So, yeah, I've got them up a whopping 3 spots, just like the Force. And then rounding out the end of the top row is the Canes. The Canes, despite the fact they lost, still maintain a spot. They're down 1 spot. They almost managed to come back against the Blues. The Blues almost had them kind of dead and buried in that first half. Remember, without Adi Savia as well, suspended, but man, they easily could have won that game. So, tight clash between 2 New Zealand rivals. Yeah, pretty solid, but they still managed to pick up a losing bonus point if nothing else. The Blues, good win round 1, disappointing loss round 2, sneak through in round 3. They don't score many points in the second half to the Blues, do they? Goodness gracious me. Great first half. They seem to just go off the boil in that second. So, I don't know where the Blues are at this season, but 2-1. Could be a worse start to the season for sure. Maybe lucked out a little bit. The fact that Artie wasn't playing. But unlucky because they have to play the Crusaders next week. And the Crusaders with their big guns back will be pretty mad at having dropped the game. Brumbies got second overall, so one of the 2 undefeated sides. The Brumbies beat the Reds 23-17. Loloseo got a start this week. His boot does well. They get a maul try. Yeah, Brumbies looking the business. Hey, we'll see if they can kind of maintain this form. But 3-0, it's the perfect start to the season for the fans in Canberra. But still, I think clearly number 1. Like, they've literally got a perfect record. 15 points are impossible. 15. I think the Brumbies are next on 12. The Chiefs, man, they smashed the Highlanders 28-7. When I say smashed, like, the Highlanders got beaten by bigger scorelines the previous 2 weeks, but still, it's a bonus point win for the Chiefs. Stevenson still looks sharp, old shooter. So, yeah, the Chiefs, at the moment, are certainly looking like the team to beat. But there we go. 3 Kiwi teams in the top row. Highlanders in the bottom row, and then, yeah, the Brumbies, the Force, the Reds, still not kind of sure where they're at. The Drua, I think they're going to be really hard to beat at home. Crusaders, I think, are certainly better than 7th, but the results thus far are just kind of speaking for themselves. But anyway, you guys, let us know your thoughts. If you were ranking the teams, where would you put them? And we look forward to week 4 action in a week's time. But yeah, you guys take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.